Are you joining or thinking about joining the army in 2025? If so, then you're probably wondering what it really takes to be able to be successful, not only in the application process, but once you're in the military and at basic training as well. So in this video, I'm going to cover everything from the application process right to your first day of basic training, and to give you the tools you need to be successful in that process. And at the end of the video, I will let you know what the biggest mistake I see is when a recruit starts basic training. So without further ado, let's get into the video. For those of you that are new here, welcome to the channel. My name is Dan. For 6 years, I was an infantry officer in the British Army, and for 2 of those years, I trained recruits, taking them in as a civilian on day 1 and 6 months later turning them out as trained soldiers. So I know a little bit about what it takes to get through basic training. Since leaving the army, I've set up my own business, and now full-time I help people join the military from a physical standpoint, from a mental standpoint. So in this video, we're going to cover everything from the application process to the entry test, the fitness standards, the mental preparation you can do, and everything in between right up until day 1 of basic training, and how to get off to a good start. And at the end of the video, make sure you keep watching, because I will tell you what the #1 mistake I saw was when I was training recruits. Number 1 is the application process. Okay, so you've applied to join the military, but what actually happens next? Once you've submitted all your medical records and that application has been sent off, the next step in the process is for you to have an interview. It's really just to make sure that, 1, you know why you're joining the British Army, to touch on your relevant experience, whether that's work experience, cadets, whatever that might be. Don't worry if you haven't got any, that's absolutely fine. And you don't have to know the exact role that you want to do in the military, but whatever it might be, it's a good time for you to express those opinions. They want to make sure that you have an awareness of what you're going into. Part 2 is then going to be your medical. Now, to be honest with you, almost half of applicants experience some sort of delay when they're going through the medical process. This could be due to existing injuries, this could be due to previous conditions. To be honest, I've seen loads of scenarios where people going through didn't realise they had something that was on their medical records, and then they've got to go and chase GPs and whatnot and try and get some evidence to say that they are fit to join, or whatever that might be. So if you are thinking about applying soon, do take that into consideration, that around about half of the people that apply experience some sort of delay, whether that's an outright fail or just a delay at the medical stage. Once you've completed the medical, they will invite you to do, if you're a soldier, to go attend the assessment centre. If you're an officer, it will be part of the Army Officer Selection Board, which are 2 phases: Army Officer Selection Briefing Course and the Army Officer Selection Main Board. So what happens at the assessment centre? You're going to do some tests, right? They want to see what skills you have. So it will be numeracy, literacy tests, things like that. They'll obviously do some interviews as well. And yes, this is where the fitness test comes in. If it's AOSB, then it's exactly what I've said before, but on steroids. There's going to be a bit more scrutiny, see how you work within a group. There's going to be some leader-led and leader-less tasks where they basically want to assess your leadership ability. And they're not looking for anything super special, to be honest with you. They're looking for something they can train. They're looking for a bit of raw talent that then at Sandhurst they can mould into being the leader that they need you to be. Right, some common pitfalls that I see when people are, how to put this, training to join but they don't apply themselves correctly. Okay, firstly, control the controllables. So number 1, fitness should be a non-negotiable. Don't turn up to the assessment centre, whether that's for soldier or officer, wondering if you can pass the fitness test. That should not be the first time that you're doing it, and you should have already got a couple of comfortable passes under your belt by the time that you get there. So my big advice is spend a few months to really get into a good training routine. And I say this all the time on my Instagram page. Is train for what's to come, not just the entry test. So passing the bleep test is all well and good, but then you're gonna have some extra physical challenges when you get there. Okay, and then if you pass the assessment centre and AOSB, you will then be given an intake date. One of the biggest questions I get is, when should I apply? And how long does the process take? It varies from person to person. However, if you aim off for soldiers approximately 6 months and offers approximately 12 months for that entire application process. So from clicking submit to day one of basic training or at Sandhurst, then that's probably what you should work off. And if you've got any specific questions about the application process itself, do let me know in the comments and I will get back to you, or at least share that knowledge with other people so they know too. As I said, I'm working with people that are going through that process as we speak. This is what I see over and over again. So that's part one. That's the application process. Hopefully that has given you a lot of information. Now I'm going to go really specific on the actual fitness requirement. Okay. Let's get this straight. The entry test, in my opinion, is a pretty low bar. They're going to test you on a few different areas. The first one is going to be your upper body strength. And the way they test that is through a medicine ball throw. And it measures your power output from your upper body. Now, if you can do push-ups, if you go to the gym and do things like bench press, then most people by and large are fine at this stage. To be honest, it's not particularly hard. The next thing you'll do is a mid-thigh pull. This is essentially a deadlift, but it's kind of like at a static platform on pressure plates. If you do deadlifts regularly, or you have at least some exposure to them, then again, you'll probably be able to pass this, no dramas. The bit where people tend to come unstuck is the bleep test. To be honest with you, the fitness test is really achievable. If you aren't naturally a fit person or haven't done sport or not used to regular exercise, then you can absolutely, with a bit of training and a bit of effort, you can absolutely get to the pass mark. For the army, for the infantry, we're going to work off that. The standard is 8.6. The reason I want you to work off that is because you should be exceeding these fitness standards, not just scraping the barrel before you get in. If you're not yet at that standard, don't worry, all right? With a bit of training and a bit of consistency, a couple of months under your belt, you should be nearer the standard of passing that bleep test quite comfortably. Now, the best way to practice this isn't just to smash yourself doing bleep tests over and over and over again. The best way to practice this is to do different types of running. That's what we're assessing here. The reason it's important to be able to run is, yes, you'll do a load of it in training, but think of the job that you're going into. Most of the time, it is a lot of time on your feet. If you're joining the infantry like I did, especially as a light role infanteer, that was my background, then there aren't many wagons that you can put your kit on. Basically, you're expected to be able to carry your own kit all of the time. Now, this isn't the biggest mistake people make with the bleep test, but one of the areas that I do see is when people underestimate it, okay? Don't just rock up and give it a go. It does take a bit of work. It does take a bit of training to be able to pass that test. If you run between 2 and 3 times a week on a regular basis, then you're going to get to a position where you can do that. A little bit of speed work in one of the sessions, a little bit of endurance work in the other, and genuinely you should be able to pass that without too many issues. So that's the fitness requirements. The next bit I think is super important for you to understand is what to expect in managing your expectations. Okay, first and foremost, this is not a holiday camp. You're going to go and join the army or join the military in some capacity. It's going to be hard. The whole point of this is to take you from day one and progressively challenge you until you are trained and robust at the end of basic training. But something you can do to really help yourself prepare is start doing hard things. That sounds so blindingly obvious, but so many people only train for the entry test, where you could do a load of other things that exposes you to hardship that's going to make you a little bit more robust when you actually get into training. Whatever that might be, something that is pushing you outside of your comfort zone is going to put you in a really good stead for when you get there. The next part of your mental preparation is things like research. Super, super simple. A lot of people overlook this. Have a look at different parts of the army. Have a look at what the army's up to. Have a look at where people are deployed, what type of roles are available. Having a good understanding of the potential career path that you might go on will actually put you in a really good stead at the start, because you'll understand a lot more of the requirements going forward as well. If you're going in as an officer, there's obviously a load of other requirements. Current affairs is going to be really crucial. And you're going to compete for a place when you're at Sandhurst, right? You're not going with or very few people go with a confirmed CAT badge, right? So you're going to go and you're going to compete for places. So the preparation that you do beforehand is definitely going to help. Now, to become mentally resilient, you don't need to go tabbing for 5 days straight and sleeping in the woods, because trust me, you will do enough of that when you're in. But getting into a good routine with your fitness is a part of being resilient. Getting up early to get your fitness in is part of being resilient. It shows good discipline, and pushing yourself outside of your comfort zone will just mean that you're used to doing things that are hard and getting through them. It's a process, right? Mental resilience is a process, and continuously doing hard things will build that robustness. Right, and as promised at the start, there's 2 areas I want to mention. One is the common mistake during the application process, and that is not prioritizing your fitness. That is strength and running. Getting into a good routine with your fitness and making sure that you can do more than just the entry test is going to put you in such a good place. The next thing, and this is the big thing, right? This is the number 1 mistake I saw people make when they actually start basic training, and it's really fucking simple. Commit to the process. Trust me, there is a lot of BS that goes with it as well. Accepting what the process is all about. You can't rewrite the army, right? You're joining it. It's not joining you. There's no point going there with a bit of attitude. Just give in completely and commit to the training. The more you throw yourself into it and accept all the BS, the more you can smile and laugh about it and actually get out and have a good time in training as well. Because basic training is hard, but it should be enjoyable, especially at Sandhurst. I look back at Sandhurst and it was genuinely one of the best years of my life. But I remember consciously in the first couple of weeks being like, there's so much crap that goes with this. Is it worth it? And then I just made a decision, and the decision was just genuinely just go for it and accept it, and it made my life a lot easier, and I think I did well from that as well. If this was helpful and you're still watching this video and you haven't clicked like, do click like, and if you haven't clicked subscribe yet, do click subscribe. It really helps me out. And let me know in the comments if there's any areas that you're concerned about as well, and I will do my best to get back to you. Make sure you subscribe, and I'll see you next week with a brand new video. In a bit.